In this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to create a budget for beginners step by step. I promise you that by the end of this video, you're going to know how to budget. First, we're going to talk about the different steps that are involved in making a budget, and then we're going to be going over my own personal budget template that I use on Excel for those of you who might be interested in using it. I did provide a link to the template in the description down below if you want to follow along. Okay, before we can even get started, we need to have a clear understanding of our spending. And that's why I'm recommending you guys to print 3 months worth of bank statements and credit card statements. Gather anything and everything that's going to help you understand where you're spending your money. By having all these statements printed, you have a list of all your expenses handy. And when you're creating your budget, you're no longer estimating, well, how much am I spending here? You actually have your statement to refer to. If you can't print your bank statements, you can also open them up on your laptop or on your phone. Now we are ready to create a budget. So take out a piece of paper, a pen or a pencil, and get ready to write along with me. This budget is going to consist of 6 different categories. And the first thing you're going to want to list is your monthly net income. And the reason I'm asking you guys to list your net income is because this is the money that you're actually seeing. And by listing it, it will allow you to create a budget that is as accurate as possible. So let's say you're making $2,500 a month, you would list that right here. So moving on to category number 2. Here you're gonna list all your fixed expenses. So these are bills that typically stay the same and are paid on a frequent basis. These are your most important expenses. These are the things that need to be paid no matter what. So as you can imagine, these are things like your rent or your mortgage, your insurance, utilities. And I do want to make a point here. So you can be as detailed as you'd like with this budget or as general as you'd like. For instance, I prefer to list every single utility bill here, maybe water, electricity, and so forth. But I know other people like to be more simple with their budget, but just do whatever works for you. I just want to provide you guys with a general idea on how to get started on creating your budget. But again, feel free to be as detailed as you'd like. You also want to include how much you spend on food here. So you might not actually know exactly how much you spend on food or how much you spend on utilities every month. In that case, a good idea would be to look at your bank statements and calculate an average of how much you're spending. It's okay if your numbers here are not 100% accurate. I think a lot of people have this misconception that your budget needs to be perfect with no mistakes, but that is not true. It's okay if you're only providing estimates here. As you keep creating more budgets, these numbers will only get more accurate. Moving on to the third category. Here you're going to list your debts, as well as the minimum payments that you need to make for them. So under here, you might list your student loan. You might also list your credit card loan, or maybe you have a car loan. And again, you're going to list your minimum payment right here. Now let's move on to category number 4. Here you're going to list all your non-essential expenses. So your non-essential expenses are things you spend money on that are not mandatory, and these things are usually rooted in wants and not needs. So here you would want to list, for instance, subscriptions that you have, maybe like Spotify or Netflix. You also would want to list your gym membership, how much money you spend when you go out. I think you guys get the idea. This list will probably be your longest one. Now let's go to category number 5. So here you're going to list your savings. And here I'm not just referring to long-term savings, but just anything you're saving money for. So here, for instance, if you're saving money for an emergency fund, you would list how much money you're setting aside for it. Here you would also want to list any money you're saving for a long-term goal. This might be a new car in the future. Here you would also want to list how much you're saving for retirement and things like that. The last category is your unexpected expenses. So here you're gonna put some money aside for things you did not anticipate to spend money on. Maybe your tire popped. Maybe your bills ended up being more expensive than you thought. Here is where you would set money aside for any unexpected purchases. So now that we filled up all the categories, now we're at the most important part. Now you need to add up all these expenses and make sure they don't add up to more than your monthly income. So if you add all of these up and they end up being, I don't know, $3,000, that already surpasses your monthly net income. Your goal is for your expenses to add up to your monthly net income or less than it. If your goal is to save extra money, a good idea would be to look at these different categories and see where you can spend less money. Usually that's in this area right here. Just having this list makes it so much easier to see where you're spending the most money in and what are those areas and where you can spend less. Now that you guys have an idea on how to create your own budget, I want to share with you guys my personal budget template that you might be interested in using, especially if you're looking to have a detailed budget. Okay guys, so this is my personal budget template, and no, I did not create this from scratch. I actually got the original template from Microsoft 365. They have lots of budget templates to choose from. I'm personally not really good with Excel, so I just love that this template already has all the equations input for me, so I don't have to worry about calculating the math for any of these. Honestly, you can find really good budget templates all over the internet, but personally, this is my favorite one. This template is empty, of course, because it's for you guys to use, but I did want to provide a quick little overview of the different categories that are in it. The original version of this budget template had different categories, but I did modify it in order to match my needs better. Let's look at the first thing here. We have income and income source. So here you would list all your different sources of income. You might have 2 part-time jobs. You might have just 1 full-time job. Nevertheless, you would list your income for whatever month it is right here. So let's say it's January. It's not January, but let's pretend it is. And your monthly income for your full-time job is $3,000. You would input that there, and it calculates the total for you. Let's say maybe you have a part-time job and you're making $500 there a month. You would put 500 there, and it also does your total. So now you know how much money you have coming in. And here we have fixed expenses, as we talked about previously. And in my personal budget, I like to divide this into different areas of my life. For instance, I have my home fixed expenses here. For instance, rent, water, and electricity, and so forth. And then I have my category for debt here. And I also made an area for health to make sure I'm keeping track of all my bills. And I also made a category for daily life. So this is where I include what I spend on food, cell phone, housekeeping items. You know, this is something people don't talk about a lot, but this is an essential expense. You know, the things you use to clean your home, that also needs to be accounted for. Toiletries as well, personal keep up, like your deodorant, things like that. I also have another category for transportation, so gas, fuel. I personally use a car to move around, but I know a lot of other people use public transit, so I also put a little category here for that in case that is your situation. And then I have, as opposed to having like a savings category like I talked about earlier, I just have one titled Financial Security, and here I list how much I save for my emergency fund, my savings, for retirement. I also added a lot of blank boxes so you guys can add your own expenses there, and also feel free to delete any that don't apply to you. And here we have non-essential expenses, any expenses related to entertainment. I have personal under here as well. That involves shopping, the hair salon, gifts. I have subscriptions under here, as well as long-term goals. And my last category are miscellaneous expenses. So here's just things that I didn't expect to spend on, or things that I decided to spend on that I hadn't planned to. Let me tell you guys my favorite part of this template. Here at the bottom, it'll calculate your total expenses for you. So let's say these were all filled up, it would total them for you right there. And it'll also take into account your monthly income up here. and let you know if you're cash short or extra. So the monthly income we put here was $3,500, right? Well, let's say you spent $4,000. See, it lets you know you overspent by $500. This makes it so much easier to budget, especially if you have a lot of expenses to keep track of. And, sometimes when we're adding numbers, we tend to make mistakes, and this is a guaranteed way to eliminate any of those problems. There's also this little line chart here on the side that will give you a visual representation of your money. So let's say in June you made $1,000 and in December you made $10,000. You would see that little spike here, which is pretty neat. But yeah, guys, that kind of finalizes my little overview of this template. Again, it's provided in my description. Please feel free to download it. I'm also going to provide you guys with links to different websites that provide some really cool budget templates. For those of you who don't want to use Excel and also don't want to write in a piece of paper, I have something for you. So when I first started budgeting, I used to write all my things in this budget planner. And I got this budget planner at Walmart. This planner has every category in a budget that you can think of. A lot of my inspiration for the categories that I talked about today came from this book. So let me show you guys. It has this little calendar area, it has your little monthly budget area, and then it has all the different things you can possibly spend on and a little area to fill it in. This is perfect for somebody who wants to budget but also doesn't want to put too much effort. I think this is also a great place to start, and it was only a little over $2. And it also has an area where you can list all your different expenses. This is especially important when you want to get a better idea of the areas in which you're spending more money. And overall, this budget planner is 10 out of 10. I'm also going to provide a link to it in the description. Please buy yourself one. I mean, it's great. It also has a little yearly overview. Just want to let you guys know about it. I just love how affordable and great it is. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you learned how to create a budget. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys next time. Bye.